You know, all you people, all you boys and girls who love to talk about conspiracy theories, I want you to grab your tinfoil hats and sit by the radio for a moment. And we're going to talk to you about real life. You know, you think you live in this safe little bubble, and you've got these uniformed people that are looking out for everything that you do. They're going to stomp to death anybody who threatens your little bubble, but you don't have to worry about them. They would never harm you. They would never lie to you. Well, the reality is something far beyond that. I want to read to you something from USA Today. You know that conspiracy website, USA Today? This is from Stephen Petrow, okay? And this was came out today. I got hacked midair while writing an Apple FBI story. He says, I don't really need to worry about online privacy, I used to think. I've got nothing to hide. Who would want to know what I'm up to anyway? Sure, I'm a journalist, but I'm not an investigative reporter. I'm not a political radical. Not much interest in anyone, really. He says, that was last week when the standoff between the FBI and Apple seemed much more about principle than practice to me. That's when I thought I'd write a column on whether this legal fight matters for regular folks, people like my mother, a retired social worker, my best friend who works in retail, whatever. Then he says, just before midnight, my plane touched down in Raleigh after a 3-hour flight from Dallas. As usual, I'd spent much of the flight using American Airlines GoGo in-flight internet connection to answer emails. When we come back, I'm going to tell you what happened to him, and I'm going to try to burst your little illusion of bubble that you don't need to worry about the Internet of Things. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. On this final segment, I want to complete what I was telling you about this journalist who was on an airplane going from Dallas to Raleigh, working, as he said, on a story about Apple and FBI. And as he was doing this, as he was getting off, he'd been using the in-flight internet connection to answer emails. And as he was starting to get off the plane in Raleigh, he said a guy that was in a row behind him, somebody he'd never seen before, came up to him and said, I need to talk to you. He says, I was kind of taken back. He says, well, it's late. I need to get home. And he goes, you're a reporter, right? And he goes, yeah. He says, wait for me at the gate. Sounds like the X-Files, doesn't it? This is from USA Today, by the way. He says, well, I didn't answer, but I did wait. He says, how did you know I was a reporter? He says, are you interested in the FBI Apple story? He said, ignoring my question. He said, kind of. Why are you asking me that? And then he dropped the bombshell. He said, I hacked your email on the plane. I read everything you sent, everything you received. I did it to most people on the flight. He had verbatim details of a long email that he repeated back to me essentially word for word. In fact, he was Steve Nolan, GoGo's vice president of communications. I'm sorry, that's not who listened to it, but the vice president of communications that provided the on-flight internet connection on the plane told him, he said, the service is public. It operates in the same way as most open Wi-Fi hotspots on the ground. And he cautioned him against accessing sensitive materials while in flight. Do you understand? Do you understand that as he's talking about this, he says he was writing to Bruce Schneer, who works for the Washington Post, and he says, well, the current case is about a single iPhone 5C, but the precedent it sets will apply to all smartphones, all computers, all cars, everything in the Internet of Things. Now, of course it will. And you need to understand that the Internet of Things is not simply your phone. It's not simply your computer. It is going to be every device in your house. Remember when we talked about this? We talked about David Petraeus saying that the CIA was going to be able to listen to people's conversations using appliances in their kitchen. People said, you're a bunch of paranoid conspiracy theorists. Well, now this guy who writes for USA Today has had an awakening because he saw it happen to him. Remember when Michael Hastings' car crashed? And we said, well, you know, that's one of the easiest cars to take over control of, the Mercedes, because they have the most subsystems in their car. And it's been demonstrated that they could be hacked. And everybody said, you're a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists. And then we had, I think it was, the guy's name was Clark, who had been the director of security for Clinton, said, no, we've done that to a number of people. I mean, we had a clue from the very beginning because of who he was and because of the position of the engine not being captured in a frontal collision, as would happen if he truly had died in a crash with a tree, but because the engine was at a right angle, more than 100 feet down the road. It's like, oh, looks like it blew up and then crashed. And the whole idea that it was flying down the road at 100 miles an hour, that is something we all know can be done very easily. We all don't realize just how extensive this control grid is about to become. It's going to control and monitor every movement, everything we say, and it is going to constantly analyze everything we say. I began this hour talking with Alex about one of the things that really bothered me about Ted Cruz, and that was his incessant data mining of prospective voters so that he could feed them precisely what they wanted to hear, breaking them down into a huge matrix and then putting it on a smartphone app for his volunteers to go door to door so he could make a contact with them just the way they wanted to be contacted. Understand the power of control that will be in their hands when they can monitor our every movement, not only with the Internet of Things, but it's going to be vehicle to infrastructure communication, talking to all the traffic lights, talking to all the local government and police about how you're driving, charging you accordingly, and increasing your insurance rates. It's going to be bad in a lot of different ways.
I want more video games. Lie.
And it's that type of behavior that spurred me to do the research to develop a true nutraceutical formula that was designed to smooth out and help children focus. All of our children are hit with modern mind control. Television, music, fast food, GMOs, sugars, you name it. Young humans have not yet developed their nervous system and are being hammered daily by globalist concoctions. It's no wonder they can't focus and calm down and then are put on dangerous psychotropic drugs. Working with my team, we set out to find the best formula with the highest quality ingredients that children would actually like and take. We worked with the leading manufacturer in nutritional supplements that are safe for children to bring you the most affordable and powerful calming formula out there. Introducing Child Ease with herbs and calming extracts like chamomile and lemon balm and essential nutrients that taste great. Obtain your Child Ease today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's Child Ease exclusively at InfoWarsLife.com.